There's a new street fighter on your windowsill. The weapon is peace, the word is chill.
Hello Marvel Legends and welcome to another episode of Displaying Model Behaviour. I'm sorry I haven't put an episode out recently, but I had to take a few days off to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's just how long it takes. But hey, was it worthwhile? Check into my sister channel Displaying Miscellaneous Behaviour to see my full breakdown review of the film. Link in the description below. But you're not here for movie reviews, you are here for action figure content, and by Jove, do I have something fun for today, because I'm going to do some fantasy booking with my action figures where I'm going to ask, what if Spider-Man formed the Sinister Six? Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would Spider-Man form a Sinister Six? Well, that is just clickbait. Because Spider-Man wouldn't form a Sinister Six, he's a good guy. But what if he formed his own team of 6 people to combat the Sinister Six? Ha! In there lies the rub. So, we have Spider-Man, we have retro Spider-Man, what is quickly becoming my favorite Spider-Man, replacing Pizza Spider-Man. I know, bonkers, insanity, right? But I don't know, he's just a little thicker. The articulation with the torso swivels kind of cool. If only he had brighter blue and bigger eyes, then he would be my quintessential Spider-Man. But you know what? I get the feeling Hasbro might give us that. Just watch this space. They've made the cyborg Spider-Man with the brighter colors and the bigger eyes. So all they're gonna do is just take off the cyborg accoutrements and you have yourself a badass 90s Spider-Man. So watch this space. But until then, we've got the beautiful retro Spider-Man who will be leading his team, his superior 6, if you will. Speaking of superior Spider-Man, we have, of course, the leader of the villains, the classic Sinister Six, Dr. Octopus, the master planner, the man who formed his own team to take down the wall crawler. Now, this is the one and only Marvel Legends of the modern era that we have of Dr. Octopus, and he is fantastic. I mean, talk about nailing it right out of the gate. This figure is wonderful. Would it be even better if he was wearing his white suit? Oh my god, yes, of course it will. So hopefully we will see a white suited re-release of this figure sooner than later. But those are the two main, leaders of the teams. But how are we going to supplement them? Well, of course, first of all, let's say, for example, you have Mysterio. Mysterio is, again, I'm going to go with classic Sinister Six. So Mysterio here represented by the chef's kiss, gorgeously beautiful vintage re-release of the Mysterio figure with the beautiful gold accents and the wash on Nya and just the more royal kind of cape and I freaking love this Mysterio. So beautiful. And I gave him these little power effects as well, which just adds so much to the figure. Take these off of Polaris or whoever it is that has them, give them to Mysterio, and it just adds so much quality to him. So who is a good person to combat Mysterio? That's a good question, and that leads me into my provisos for this Spider-Man team. I could just go like, oh, Spider-Man has Professor X, the Silver Surfer, X-Man, and just, just obliterates everyone. Well, that would just be a mugging. All right, that wouldn't be exciting. So what characters would make good equivalent counterparts and that Spider-Man could realistically recruit? We've got to go kind of street level. So who's a good person who could kind of combat Mysterio? And you guys might help me out more with this because I just wanted an excuse to use this guy. Thunderstrike. You've been Thunderstriked. Now, look, I don't know, but I think Thunderstrike is not quite as powerful as Thor is, because this mallet here, this ain't Mjolnir, all right? He don't possess the power of Thor. I don't even know if he's worthy. Help me out, guys. I could have read a wiki, but where's the fun in that? I much prefer people telling me that I'm wrong in the comments. If I ever need to be reminded of how wrong I am, I'll just look at my old Cara Dune post and be like, wow, yep, that's all I needed. but I wanted an excuse to use this Thunderstrike figure. I'm seeing Thunderstrike as a depowered version of Thor. And with Mysterio, it's all about illusions and casting, different things that, distort your perception of reality. So even though this guy has the power of like super strength and lightning and whatnot, he can be brought down by magic and illusion. So it's kind of a fair sort of fight. Plus, Thunderstrike is straight up a street type character. He's someone who's not like up there in Asgard and outer space. He's more of a street level kind of guy, I think. So this works really well for Spider-Man's more street level team. Plus his figure's just badass. He's big, he's hunky and chunky. He's got the great vest that was used for Rage as well, but obviously this is brown, so it kind of brings out the details more. Really love this figure. Plus he's got a great rah type face, which so many characters are missing. I love this guy. So this is my equivalent or counterpart to take on Mysterio. Now then, we're gonna take it to the skies because we have the Vulture. Adrian Toomes with his wings glued in because, oh my God, the Hasbro, these little wing segments fall out all the time. And I never like doing things to sort of supplement my figures. I like them to be like sort of mint condition, just out of the box. But I was like, no, screw it. I'm gluing these in because this is a nightmare. I don't know what they fixed for the Falcon, but somehow the Falcon is absolutely fine. They clip in place, no problem. Anyway, besides the wing problem, I really love the Vulture. I think the creepy Adrian Toomes head is wonderful, and it's got lovely, what am I trying to say? Not shading, well, kind of shading. Either way, the paintwork around the eyes, a bit of purple with the eyebrows there, like they scrimp out so much. Hasbro do sometimes with their paint jobs, with their faces, that when you actually get a face that's really well painted, it's like, it's so beautiful. Like, you shouldn't have done that. Well, actually, you should have done that. You should have done that all the time. But when you do, oh, it looks so good. So who is going to take on the Vulture in the air? Who's a street level air type person? Because the thing is, I could just go Iron Man. Like it's easy, boom, Iron Man. But Iron Man, to use an expression that the kids like to say, would eat the Vulture's lunch, all right? Iron Man would pwn the Vulture. So there's no fun in that. So who's someone more kind of on the Vulture's level? Aha! I'm going to present Mach 1 from the Thunderbolts, which makes sense considering that he was the Beetle, a Spider-Man villain. So it's a nice kind of tie-in there. But Mach 1, he's not quite Iron Man. He's like a depowered Iron Man. Like Thunderstrike is a depowered Thor, we have Mach 1, who is a depowered, more basic kind of, he's the Wish Iron Man. When you order Iron Man on Wish, you get Mach 1. But that's good. Not everyone needs to be an A+ heavy hitter. If everyone was Superman, then it would be kind of boring. So here we go with Mach 1. And I love me some 90s Thunderbolts. What I don't love, though, actually, is this figure. This figure, I made a scathing review of this figure. For anyone who says that I love everything, go back in time and look up my Mach 1 review in the archives. I didn't like this guy because it's a lazy reuse of the old Ultron body. The paint job all feels flat. It's nice and metallic here, but then this white is just so, it feels kind of plasticky. I mean, I know it's plastic, obviously, but it just feels extra plasticky. I don't dig that. Plus, the helmet here, there's no kind of shading on it. That's a big thing. There's no shading. It just looks too white. It's too pristine and clean. Like his mum shouldn't let him go out and fight crime because he's going to get his costume dirty. I think also it would be great if we could see the eyes. The eyes have it, but in this case, the eyes don't have it because they're not there. If this was like translucent red, you could see the eyes through that. Oh my God, that would look so cool. But you can't. Also, the hands, I took these fist hands from Speed Demon. Speed Demon has two hands. Mach 1 just has like these straight flipper hands. No, I'm sorry. I know he's flying. It makes sense. But when he's just posed, it looks like he's sort of doing the robot. It looks stupid. So fist hands look much better. I might actually swap that out and have like one forward hand, like cut in the air, and the other sort of fisted hand. I'll play around with it. But either way, despite his misgivings, he's from the Thunderbolts, the original 90s Thunderbolts. So of course I love him. Plus, we've got to get a few more characters to complete that team. That's another video for another day. So that's our flyers taken care of. Let's see what's next. All right, next up, folks, we've got Electro, Max Dillon, and I'm going for the retro figure again because this is the retro Sinister Six lineup, and oh, it's just another pretty figure. 2020 was so great for Spider-Man figures. If we can get more like this in 2021, maybe a little retro Venom, maybe another Dr. Octopus or a new Lizard or Sandman. Oh gosh, it'll be so good. But this retro Electro, I love saying that, retro Electro looks beautiful. But who can go one-on-one with Electro? We've got electricity, energy-based powers. I'm going energy here because I couldn't think there's no direct electricity good guy that I could think of. I mean, there's Storm, but again, she's OP. She's too powerful. Who is a good counterpart? I'm going to go for, and this is a combination I've not seen before, I don't think. Gambit. The name is Gambit. Remember it. Yes, Remy LeBeau, retro Remy LeBeau. The retro figures are just so bright and colorful. I adore these guys. I adore this retro Gambit. And Gambit taking on Electro, yeah, that's a fight. That's like Death Battle. I could see that being an interesting fight because, in fairness, I said no Storm because she's OP, but I think like the X-Men have revealed that Gambit is possibly like an Omega level mutant if you really come down to it, the way that he uses his powers. But if we go with the basic surface level Gambit, kind of like you see in the 90s cartoon, he'll just charge up an object and throw it and it explodes. That works. That's energy versus energy, electricity versus kinetic energy. That's really cool. Speaking of cool, look at this figure. How good is this? The new head sculpt with the floppy hair is just wonderful. This is the kind of hair I wish I could have had if I actually grew decent hair and not this widow's peak nonsense I got going on. But then you got the bright brown trench coat. You got the beautiful card which always falls out of his hand. I'm amazed I haven't lost that yet. And of course you got the bow staff which kind of slips through his grip most of the time. But all that notwithstanding, he's just a beautiful figure with the bright, shiny pink highlights and detailing. Oh, so good and a great opponent for Electro. Now, the penultimate member of the Sinister Six is a really tricky one, and that is Flint Marco, the Sandman. Now, this is such a difficult character because he's almost a bit of a game breaker. Because he can turn his whole body into sand. He can just blow away. If you try to punch him, he can just evaporate. Like, I don't know how you can hurt the Sandman. Like, he doesn't have like feelings and senses. You can punch him all you want. You might punch his head away, but that's not really his head. It's just a collection of grains of sand. So he's probably one of the most powerful characters you can imagine, because also, you know, you get him near a beach and he can control like a beach's worth of sand. I don't know if there's any caps or levels put on him. There are certain stories that paint the idea that there is actually just one sentient grain of sand that like all of his consciousness is contained inside, and then that just draws all the other sand to it. I think in the PS4 Spider-Man game, Peter Parker actually has a vial with this one grain of sand in, which he hypothesized is the one sentient grain of sand, but that was never 100% established. Either way, I love the character of Flint Marco because he's actually had so many incredible, interesting stories where he's had different personalities that have split off from him because he could obviously separate. So there was one story where he separated into like the child version of himself that was all sweet and innocent. There was like a female Sandman, and there was this big, disgusting, like monstrous Sandman. It was really, really cool. But this is the basic Kane Marco, and I love this figure. Would I like a new one? Yeah, of course, we've discussed this before. But still, this is great. But who can I put up against him? Well, I'll tell you. And this is a little outside the box thinking. We've got one Thunderbolt. How about a second Thunderbolt? How about Songbird? Yes, because with Sandman, if you can't hurt him, you can't stop him, but you can contain him. And that's what Songbird can do with her ability to create shapes and objects out of the sound that she creates, like the wings here, which do look beautiful. She can battle Sandman because, again, also Sonics can like vibrate and break the sand apart. Like, they can have a really cool battle. I'm doing lots of mental head games here. Songbird versus Sandman, that is a cool fight. I'm down for seeing that. Speaking of cool, this Songbird figure is cool. Why? Because she has a different head to the one that she actually came with, because the one that she came with is so derpy. I couldn't abide it. But this head is one of the Stepford Cuckoo's heads with a little bit of white paint on the back of it to give her that Songbird multi-colored hair kind of approach. I think it works so well with the pink that's already in the eyes. That's something you see in Songbird in the comics when she uses her powers. Her eyes glow pink sometimes, so that works perfectly. Then I threw on some different hands as well because, again, like Mach 1, she has the flipper hands, which look stupid. So with a little bit of kit bashing, this is one of my favorite figures. And finally, the last member of the Sinister Six is, of course, Kraven the Hunter. This is the Kraven from the Spider-Man 2-pack. Really great figure. I've spoken about this one a lot, so I'm not going to dwell on him too much, but who would be a good match for Kraven? Kraven is almost human, but not quite. He does have sort of enhanced abilities. He's a bit Captain America-ish in that regard. Like, he's not like superhuman, but he is like the peak pinnacle of what any human being could possibly be as far as senses are concerned and prowess and all that kind of thing. So he took a bit of a formula. I think he took like some jungle formulas and things to give himself these extra abilities on top of the fact that he's just like a world-class hunter and fighter. So who's a good guy who's not really super powered but is trained rather than taking a special formula? I'll tell you. I have got a character who I haven't really used on any of my shows before, I don't think. ShangChi. I not used this guy at all because I never really had much of a reason to, because I haven't read much with ShangChi. I know the character, but I really just got him to be a completist, but he is a good figure. I was about to say great, and I held myself back. I was like, no, he's not great, but he is very good. The figure it's kind of famous for having so many hands. He has like 6 different pairs of hands, and he's got 2 different nunchaku as well. He's a fun character. He's a little bit difficult, ironically, for a martial arts master. He's a bit difficult to stand up sometimes. His feet don't really like sit as flat as you would like, but you can put him in some nice poses, but you've got to be very, very careful. A flight stand works really well to just give him a bit of extra balance, but you can have him in this kind of like Wing Chun kind of pose. Oh, look at me and my martial arts knowledge. But yeah, I love that kind of like slight tiger claw sort of look there with the nunchaku, very Bruce Lee. Oh, actually, I don't think Bruce Lee ever did tiger claw style, but either way, the head mold, I like the determined martial arts type expression there. Unfortunately, my figure has like a little black ding on there. I'm not sure where that came from. I could probably brush it off if I really tried to, but what are you gonna do? But yes, I think that would be a great battle. ShangChi versus Kraven the Hunter. I dig that. And that, folks, is my full lineup. Spider-Man's own, I don't know, Spider Six? I always like alliteration and pun names and stuff, but obviously Superior Six is a name that I was never used during the Superior Spider-Man run. They should have done that. He should have recruited his own Superior Six. That would have been kind of cool. I know that in the most recent Superior Spider-Man, he had his like goon squad that helped him out, but they were just a bunch of jobbers. They weren't like a proper Superior Six. That would be really fun. Maybe one day. I hope we haven't seen the last of the Superior Spider-Man, because that would be a lot of fun. But either way, that was my rundown of Spider-Man's personal Sinister Six opponents, I suppose. I think that would have been a fun story if Spidey recruited those guys. But folks, what do you think? Who would be a good equivalent set of opponents for the Sinister Six? Comment below, let me know. And folks, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, then join the 6-1 Clicks by clicking the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And as I mentioned at the start of the show, you can go over to my sister channel, Displaying Miscellaneous Behaviour, for my comments, opinions, thoughts, and think pieces on anything that's not action figure related. So movies, comic books, video games, pro wrestling. If it's outside the action figure genre, then you'll find it on my channel, link in the description below. And until next time, folks, keep displaying model behavior.
Cheers.